All right, welcome back. We're going to keep going through the heroic journey here. We're almost done. We've gotten through the point where the hero has transferred from being in the ordinary world into the actual journey. They've gone through whatever the biggest obstacles are, that ordeal portion, that approach to Inmost Caves, that physically dangerous place, that ordeal, that big obstacle they have to overcome. They have now moved to a point where they've actually gotten the reward. That's where we left off last time. Here's a couple of examples of that could be, because it's not always the same kind of thing. It could be a physical reward, like when Obi-Wan Kenobi, when Indiana Jones gets the Ark of the Covenant, or it could be something like when Luke finds out that his dad's not really that bad of a guy after all. Or it could be some kind of romantic situation where maybe that's what needed to happen. Love needed to soften them or whatever. I've not actually seen this Superman movie that's up here in the corner, but it looks like maybe he's getting the girl there, either that or they're just awkwardly sniffing one another's faces. But you get the idea. After getting the reward, we have something called the road back. Because remember, they have to change stuff. If they don't change anything, if they don't impact your life, they're not a hero. They just did something for themselves. And so they have to go back and make a difference in their society. But on the way back, it's not like it's just smooth sailings. They have to face something again that is either going to reclaim the treasure, and so they have to either get the treasure back, or they have to realize that maybe what they thought the treasure was about wasn't really what it was about after all. And they're going to encounter something in that road back where they have to really understand for themselves what the journey was about in the first place. The best example of this that I think of in story is actually in the Lord of the Rings sequence. This doesn't really show up in the movies, but in the book, you have little Frodo who has the ring that is going to destroy the world, and so he has to protect it until he can destroy it. Like he's going to be the one that takes it, and he is going to destroy that ring. Now he does that not necessarily to protect the entire world, but he wants to protect his people, right? He wants to protect the Shire. He wants to protect the hobbits. That's his real motivation. Like he wants them to be able to live in peace, and so he goes on this really, really dangerous journey, destroys the ring, and in the movie, that's when it ends. After like lots of walking, he destroys the ring. There's like celebration or whatever. In the books, he goes back home, and the Shire, what he had been wanting to protect, has now been invaded. Okay, and that's a classic road back thing, where what he wanted to do was destroy the ring to keep everyone safe. But he gets back, and the people he wants to be safe more than anyone else aren't safe. And so what does he have to do? He has to fight one more battle, do it one more time, to really solidify what he was after in the first place, what really mattered to him. That's a classic road back. And it also alludes to this next stage, which is called the resurrection scene, which is that mock ordeal that happens at the end of the story as well. Okay. So remember, the ordeal is something that was really, really difficult that the hero had to overcome. The resurrection scene sometimes actually does involve death and resurrection. And you see that a lot of times in myth. But a lot of times what it is it's something really similar to that ordeal, but this time it's not as big of a deal for them. Ordeal, deal, that kind of really sounds kind of weird. It's not as hard on them this time because they've already done it before. If you have seen any of the earlier Marvel movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because in those movies, what you have is you have like the main villain that they fight, and that's like most of the movie. Okay, so for like an hour and a half or whatever, you see them like struggling against this particular villain. At the end of the movie, though, a lot of times in those early sequences, like if you've seen The Incredible Hulk or even the early Iron Man movies, at the very end, there's just some random villain that comes up for like the last couple minutes, and it's like a super duper quick fight, and they overcome it. But that's what resurrection scene is about. Is they've learned so much as they've struggled through the original ordeal, and they've gone through this journey. They've changed, they've adapted. They're someone different, and so now those things aren't as hard on them anymore. Probably the best example of this in film, it's actually a movie that I don't understand, The Matrix. And so in The Matrix, he's in this computer program, he's doing all these things. And what the most famous sequences from that movie is when he is dodging bullets. Okay. So people are shooting at him, and he has to like in like slow motion for us. Like we see him like moving super fast and dodging these bullets, but it's hard on him. Sometimes he gets hit. He's not always super successful at this. Toward the end of the movie, after overcoming this, he's running up these stairs. He opens a door, and on the other side, Mr. Smith is there, has a gun, shoots him straight in the chest. He does not dodge that bullet. He then like hits a wall, like falls down. This one it gets kind of weird because like he's in the Matrix, but he's also not in the Matrix. And so when he's like in the regular world, his girlfriend like kisses him, which I guess it was like a really good kiss because it then like brings him back to life in the Matrix, and he's like seeing green numbers and stuff. But anyway, he stands up and he gets shot at again. Okay, mock ordeal is now happening. He was dodging bullets before. He's going to have to do it again. But this time, because he's changed, because he's different, because he's overcome things, and he's not who he was before, this time he just reached out his hand, stops the bullets,